One problem with adverse selection and moral hazard is that no solution is perfect. Some bad buyers or sellers will pass through a screen or send a false signal. Some good buyers or sellers will fail to pass through a screen or to send a signal. No monitoring or incentive scheme aligns perfectly interests of principals and agents. Even though no solution is perfect, the best solution does vary predictably. Screen when the cost of learning whether a buyer or seller has the desired characteristics is low. Remember this when you take a class that discusses hiring new employees. My wife can judge the quality of clothing pretty quickly and easily if she can touch it and see it. She can shop well by going to stores and judging, again at low cost, the quality of the things she wants to buy, and therefore avoids the adverse selection of buying bad clothing. If you can measure the desired characteristics of your employees easily, measure the characteristics of your job applicants, and choose the applicants, hire the applicants that have the best fit of the desired characteristics. Monitor when the cost of measuring activity is low. Remember this when you take a class that discusses supervising employees. If I know really what I want you to do, then I simply can measure, are you doing what I'm doing, and reward or coach and give you feedback appropriately. This is the basis for assembly line work. Your task is to show up at 8 o'clock in the morning and to screw the left lug nut bolt onto every car that passes in front of you. So at the end of the week or the day, I can determine whether you showed up at 8 o'clock and whether you screwed the left lug nut bolt onto every car that passed in front of you. If you did, you'll get feedback and presumably some reward. If you didn't, you'll get some negative feedback, maybe some coaching, and perhaps some penalty. Use incentive compensation, also known as contingency compensation or pay for performance, when measuring desired outcomes is easy. I may not know or care what the characteristics are of an employee. I may not know or care exactly how they perform the task. But if I know what the task is, if I know what the desired outcome is, and I can measure that, all I've got to do is measure the outcome and pay people when they produce that desired outcome. This is the basis from which sales compensation schemes. The exact characteristics vary. Some salespeople are pushy, some are soft-spoken, some pester suppliers, some have a more low-key approach to it. But at the end of the day, if you're successful, the employer doesn't care. If you're selling, you're selling. Signal when it is a reliable indicator of quality. And one thing to recognize when you talk about adverse selection and moral hazard cost is that if the cost of solving the problem is bigger than the cost of the problem, then the problem does not exist. Sometimes the best action is to bear the cost of adverse selection and moral hazard. For example, most employees shirk at least a little bit, and most employers recognize that they do. However, if the cost of monitoring behavior is greater than the cost of shirking, the employer's best action is inaction. Let the worker shirk. Let's work an example to illustrate this concept. Suppose that manager and worker are risk-neutral players in a sequential game. Manager moves first and chooses a per-piece commission denoted by the letter C. Then worker decides whether to work or shirk. Choosing to work imposes a cost of $100 on worker. When worker works, the manager has an 80% chance of selling a product with a profit margin of $1,000. When worker shirks, the probability of a sale falls to 40%. The following table contains formulas for the payoffs for the payoffs. If the worker works, the expected profit of the manager is going to be 0.8 times 1,000 minus C, or 800 times C. Worker shirks, the payoff is 400 minus C, because the expected profit margin falls to 400. The expected profit to worker, if they work, is 80% times the commission minus the cost they bear of working. If they shirk, their expected profit is 40% times the commission. Here's a set of questions. When C is 50, would worker shirk? When C is 50, what is manager's expected profit? When C is 375, would you expect worker to work or shirk? When C is 375, what is the manager's expected profit? What value for C would you recommend for manager, 50 or 375? If the manager could pick any value between 0 and 1,000 for C, what value would you recommend? Suppose the profit margin decreases to 380. Change that one there. What commission would you recommend? Let's tackle the questions in order. When C is equal to 50, would worker work or shirk? The worker would shirk. 40% times 5 times 50 is $20. That's greater than 80% times 50 minus 100, which is minus 60. $20 is the expected payoff if I shirk. Minus 60 is the expected payoff when I work. If C is 50, what is manager's expected profit? Well, the answer to the first question tells us that worker shirks when C is equal to 50. Therefore, the expected profit of manager is 400 minus 50, which is 350. When C is 375, would worker work or shirk? The worker would work. 80% times 375 minus 100 is 200. That's greater than 40% times 375, which is 150. 200 is the expected payoff to the worker when she works. 150 is the expected payoff to the worker when she shirks. When C is 375, what is manager's expected profit? The answer to the third question tells us worker works when C is 375. Therefore, the expected profit to manager is 800 minus 375, or 425. What value for C would you recommend for manager, 50 or 375? I'd recommend 375 because the payoff to the manager when the commission is 375 is 425. That's higher than the payoff when the I'm all messed up here. That's higher than the payoff to the manager when the commission is 50. The manager expects to get 425 when C is 375. The manager expects to get 350 when the commission is 50. 425's. Oh no, the manager expects to get 350. Yeah, that's right. Manager expects to get 350 when commission is 50. Since the payoff when C is 375 is higher than the payoff when C is 50, the manager would prefer a commission of 375. Now suppose you can pick any value between 0 and 1,000 for C. What value would you recommend for manager? Manager maximizes her expected payoff by paying the smallest commission that induces her workers to work. We can find this value by finding the value for C that makes the expected payoff to the worker when she shirks equal to the expected value when she works. %80 times C minus 100 is equal to, it must equal 40% times C. That means 40% times C has got to equal 100. That means that C's got to equal $250. Manager maximizes her payoff by offering a commission of $250 or slightly higher. That's the least manager can offer and still induce worker to work. Now suppose the profit margin falls to $380. What commission would you recommend? I'd recommend 0. The manager must offer at least $250 to induce worker to work. When C is $250 and worker works, the expected payoff for manager is 80% times 380 minus 250, which is 304 minus 250, which is $54. When C is 0 and worker shirks, the expected payoff to manager is 40% times 380, which is $150. Since 152 is bigger than 54, 0 is the best commission from manager's viewpoint.